and a warm welcome to Personal Finance. I'm Gugulethu Cele. Today we come to you again from the Discovery Financial Planning Summit for 2015, taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre. Well, we all know that life is a very interesting journey that we all experience, and sometimes life happens. So this brings into conversation the importance of having an appropriate life plan. I've got two guests with me now to unpack what this appropriate life plan actually entails. I'd like to welcome Hilton Hausberger. He's a representative of Discovery, followed by Andrew Silva. He owns a firm called Direct Financial Solutions based in the UK. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. I think we're going to get very interesting perspectives about the South African market versus the UK, but let's start off with you, Hilton. The importance of a life plan. Do we often take it for granted in South Africa?
So I think a lot of the life insurance industry is a lot of people don't think about the inevitable until it actually happens in your family or in a closer friend or whatever. Then you suddenly realize what happens if the breadwinner passes away or has a life-changing event for that. And then reality steps in. And unfortunately, the majority of our nation are underinsured in terms of life cover. And thus you see charity days for people who haven't made correct provision or haven't followed a life plan. They haven't had a financial plan written for them by an advisor, and they simply don't want to face the fact that eventually we're all going to die.
It's a difficult reality for many to come to terms with. Andrew, I'd like to get your perspective here on the nitty-gritties of an appropriate life plan and what it should entail.
Carrying on from the comment, it's actually a very boring subject, life insurance. However, it's probably one of the most important things you'll ever buy. I'm sure Hilton, like myself, have actually seen people, ex-clients who've actually not had insurance when we've told them, discussed in the past, saying maybe you should have it. A very good friend of mine years ago, we talked to death about it, excuse the pun. He just wouldn't buy into it. 3 months later died. His family were in absolute desperate situation. Had to sell the house, had to move out,
Sure.
down a complete downhill path from then on. And life insurance often has to be sold, or the atmosphere created with the client, or people see the perspective of it, because you do not wake up in the morning and go, right, today I'm going to buy life insurance. It's the top of my agenda, that is what I'm going to do today. People don't. And people always assume it won't happen to them.
So how do you sell it to some of your clients? Say you were talking to me and I tell you, I'm still young, I don't need that.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're completely young and single, life insurance is slightly different, because we may talk about a different product like income protection or critical illness. But say you're a wife with a couple of kids, a decent earner, I'd basically ask you how your family would survive if I took your income away from you today.
Well, that's a reality check quite clearly. But Hilton, maybe also if you can walk us through some of the key considerations. Is it about making the appropriate contributions, ensuring that you have the necessary cover?
Well, I think it's a combination, and you need to sit with a financial planner who can map that road for you of exactly what you need, because everybody's needs are different. If you're young and single and you don't need life insurance per se, you will need disability insurance, because the chances are high that you're going to have a motor vehicle accident, or there is some life-changing event going to happen. And if we haven't made specific provision for it, then you're going to look to your financial planner and you're going to say, why did we never discuss this?
On that,
you could possibly have a stroke. That's a life-changing event. You may not be able to speak as a result of a stroke. That is your income gone for the rest of your life. That changes everything. Now you need to assess that risk and say, how am I going to deal with it appropriately? And what can I afford? And everything comes down to affordability. So it's premium versus risk. And that's why you deal with a financial planner who can guide you in the right direction to give you that lifeboat when you need it. Because the products we sell, you can't buy them when you need them.
That's the problem, because by the time you do, like you say, that option's not available to you anymore. I want us to take a look at the cost implications, obviously, of these particular products and services. In the South African market, are we finding that they are priced to suit the client's needs?
Absolutely. We operate in a very competitive market. So you have a mortality rating. The actuaries determine how long we're going to live based on statistics. And there are premiums that are adjusted for that particular age group, whether you smoke, etc. Then Discovery brings in their vitality packaging, which makes it a little bit more attractive than most competitors in the market.
Because there's an incentive now for you to actually take care of your
Absolutely.
health.
So if you listen to the Minister of Finance earlier, Minister Nene, you would have heard that he spoke about financial well-being, financial wellness, and then he spoke about health wellness. And the Discovery program incorporates both of those, and we call it Vitality. So we give you a discount on that mortality rate if you engage and look after yourself and be healthy.
Andrew, maybe if we can bring your voice into
Yeah,
this part of
when
the
it comes to
conversation.
cost, Hilton will know this, life insurance actually is incredibly cheap when you think about it as well. I could sell you, I've got to say it's in pounds, not in rand. Say I sold you today an £80 a month policy, and unfortunately 2 months later you happen to die, but £1 million got paid out. Your family's sorted forever, apart from the affection side of it. But what incredibly cheap product. Two payments of £80, £1 million paid out 2 months later. So people often assume it's an expensive product, but it is incredibly expensive if you haven't got it.
Can you ever be over-insured?
My opinion is no, never. Because there's a great saying in the UK, and it's the same here, you'll never give a widow will never give you the cheque back.
You agree, Hilton?
I've never seen a beneficiary complain when they get too much money.
But you will see one complain if they suddenly say, well, I've only got 10,000 rand paid out.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't my family survive? The kids now have to change schooling, and your life changes immediately.
Exactly. I want us to take a look at how often this plan might obviously need to be reviewed. You alluded to the different clients that you interact with, whether you're single with no responsibilities, higher risk for disability maybe, and how this changes as people's life stories change. Get married, have children. From your perspective?
Yeah, well, a life policy is a progression through your life, literally. So you now just start out in work, 21 years old, completely single, carefree. I can again relate it to the UK. You'll definitely need some income protection because you need to insure your income. And obviously critical illness. There's no need for life insurance at that time. A few years down the line, you're 25, meet a partner, maybe buy a house together. You need to insure the asset. Still no children knocking around at this point. A few years later, you then have children. The income part then becomes very apparent because, as I said to the analogy just for yourself, one of you then dies, because you're now looking at insuring two people now. One of them dies, that's one income, times by X number of years till they were, say, 65 when they were going to retire, just gone out of the household. So a life plan does need to evolve, and whether it's rejigging the policies sorted out originally or just redoing a new policy as times change.
Mm-hmm. Hilton, from your perspective, you've been in the game for more than, 2 decades?
25 years.
Yeah.
I like to see my clients every 6 months because life changes, which Andrew highlighted now. And also as a financial planner, you want to be close to your clients and understanding what's happening in their lives. And we have social media today, which alerts you to the changing life of that particular person.
So you watch their Facebook updates, and when there's a baby boy born.
Because it's my responsibility.
Exactly.
Not only that, there's a good point there, but you end up, I'm sure they're saying, that you end up having some of your clients as incredibly good friends.
Yes.
Some of my best friends were clients to start with.
So that's a key consideration as well. The relationship between you and the client obviously needs to be based on trust and continuous communication there.
Definitely the trust.
Don't
you
over-deliver.
You need to trust your advisor
Yeah.
in terms of that he's taking good care of your overall financial wellness.
Yeah.
And financial coach, sorry.
Yeah, and advice is really important because I'm sure everyone's the same. My clients end up ringing me about something nothing to our industry. I've just had a tax bill. How does that work? Or do you know how so and so? And I answer all the questions. It just builds the relationship even stronger, which means in their head, full trust, proper client, and then the onus on yourself is you want to look after them even more.
I want to throw a spanner in the works. And have you ever dealt with a client who might have wanted to cancel their cover?
That goes with it. That's unavoidable.
Yes.
And is that the worst case scenario, because now they're not going to necessarily benefit from this particular product that they've invested in?
It can be for various reasons. It could be a divorce. Their business could have gone bang, for a better word. They just can't afford the premiums anymore, or this is a smaller percentage. The smaller percentages, they just don't see the need anymore. They've not really bought into the concept in the first place. But I know someone, again, sad story, did that, missed his payout.
Sure. Hilton, a similar story from your side as well?
Well, it's generally economic situations that force you to look at the premium spend. So what we try and do is bring the life cover down or adjust the premiums accordingly to the income. Coming back to the financial plan again, if your income reduces, then obviously your whole lifestyle changes. Not necessarily just life insurance, you may have to downgrade where you live, etc., etc.
Cars.
Correct, sure. So
Children's
that
education.
comes back to the financial plan all the time, so that at least you try and preserve that life insurance at all costs, because you never know how your health has changed. So we need to insure your health. So you may not know that you may have developed a disease that we may not want to insure, and we may want to come back and now charge you extra for that particular ailment that you now have, because it's going to shorten your lifespan. So life cover is very important, and we try and dissuade any client from reducing their life cover that's in force, because we have to deal with the consequences when that happens. We're the ones who have to sit with the widow and or the children and please explain. So that is a huge responsibility we carry.
Yeah. In an ideal world, if every person age 18, when they took out a life policy, all took one out that day for, say, £1 million or £2 million each, when the premiums are incredibly cheap, the underwriting's virtually nil, and they kept that forever, they're never a problem, would they?
So key considerations then for clients to take into account here. But I want us to wrap up the conversation, and obviously stemming from the clients that you've dealt with, the experience in the industry as well. Andrew, let's start with you. The key elements that every client needs to understand about life cover and its importance.
The key elements is to realise what happens if they haven't got it, in my opinion. If they haven't got it, the problems just are enormous. If they have got it, you sleep at night.
Hilton?
Well, it's the responsibility of the breadwinners in our society to ensure that legacy continues, that their parents leave them what the dad wanted or the mom wanted for those particular children, the private education, the motor cars, the homes, that what they worked so hard for and studied so hard for, and you only earn that income later in life. And if you have a life-changing event right in the beginning, those children will never see the benefits of that at all. So your legacy is diminished if you don't plan correctly.
So long story short, if you have an income, get life cover.
So that question of that.
Definitely. And get a good broker.
Get a good broker, exactly. We'll start by giving the two of you a call, clearly. Well, that's where we have to leave it for this evening's episode of Personal Finance. A big thank you to both my guests for joining us. Hilton Hausberger, he's a representative of Discovery, and Andrew De Silva, Chief Executive, or rather from the company called Direct Finance Solutions in the UK. From myself, Gugulethu Cele, and the Personal Finance team from the Discovery Financial Planning Summit, it's goodbye for now.